Hello and welcome to the TCF Morning Show. It is Friday, March 26th, and this morning I am joined by Boomy at Boomy TCF and Matt Schoolfield at schools_01 on Twitter. I am Zach Lilia at ZLilia TCF. The main page is at typical_Chicago. This morning we'll be talking about the Bulls trade deadline moves. They got Vucevic, a two-time All-Star. The Bulls officially have two All-Stars from this season, right?
Yep.
On their roster. This is awesome. We'll get more into the other trades that they made. I am very excited for this. The front office really showed that they are ready to win. We're done rebuilding. We're ready to win. And then the Hawks, they beat the Florida Panthers in Chicago tonight, 3-0. We'll get into that game a little bit.
Goalie win, too. Don't forget that. That was a goalie win from Lincoln in the night.
Love it. We'll get into the White Sox news. Eloy most likely out for the rest of the season. I think 5 to 6 months with a torn left pec.
Yep.
They're not saying out for the season, but the time frame is going to be awfully tight.
We'll get more into that. And then we'll have our Sweet 16 March Madness preview. I think I said that backwards. But we'll get into
I think you said it right, unless my brain's backwards.
Is it March Madness? Yeah. Oh, no, Sweet 16 March Madness. Whatever.
You're good. Either way, you're fine on that one.
Whatever works.
No, you said 16 sweet or something like that, you know.
We'll get into what we think is going to happen, maybe what we'll be gambling on. So maybe you want to fade that or not. We'll see. Then we'll end the show like we always do with Boomys Wacky Web Story. If you want to follow us on Facebook or Instagram, type in Typical Chicago Fans. You will find us on there. Go over to the YouTube page, all our morning shows, podcasts, interviews, food reviews, all on the Typical Chicago Fans YouTube page. Please subscribe. And then wherever you get your podcast from, type in Typical Chicago Fans, and you will find us on there. But if it's Apple, please subscribe, rate, and review. Like I said, if it's anywhere else, just type in Typical Chicago Fans. You will find us on all podcast apps. 26shirts.com, Chicago. Boomy's always got them in the background. Oh, Boomy's got it under the jersey tonight. The Jonathan Taze shirt. 26shirts.com, Chicago. Use the promo code Typical Chicago Fans at checkout for 15% off of your purchase. Again, that is Typical Chicago Fans at checkout for 15% off of your purchase. Boys, we are a day away. I feel like Sweet 16 should be going on today, at least starting today. But we have to wait until Saturday. But how are we doing, boys?
Bulls have two All-Stars on the roster right now. Life is good, man.
That's right.
It's the weekend.
The Bulls are headed in the right direction. Let's just say that.
Finally.
Let's get right into it. Sorry, Maddie, if you had something to say.
Nothing at all. You're good to go.
Maddie, first vaccine this week. Awesome to see his mother gave him the vaccine. He said that he would never let her give him a shot, but that changed.
Yeah, she became a nurse. I think it was in 7th or 8th grade, and I was always very, very afraid of shots. Like when I was a kid, I hated needles. I was a typical.
I'm still that way.
You get the heart rate starts pumping when you know you're getting one, that kind of thing. I walked into that building. You could have given me 1,000. Like I had absolutely zero concern. I'm ready to be done with all this. If it means getting a shot, I'll get 1,000 of them. I don't give a shit at this point. Worked out well. My mom's the director of a nursing program for a college in the area, and so she was bringing some students over to do training, teaching and getting some credits and things like that. And in a public health setting, and obviously no better public health setting than a pandemic vaccine clinic, I think is about the peak of that.
You should have given some lessons to the girl who gave me my second shot. My God.
Yeah. So it worked out well that happened to be she was there with students the day I got an appointment set up. So I asked the guy if I could just go to her table, and he said absolutely. So it's pretty cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
The whole everyone TCF podcast involved has at least had one vaccine shot. So
yeah, the thing I didn't know about it too. look at us like being medical experts here, but
Oh, yeah.
the
That's what
Pfizer
people come here for.
vaccine, I did not realize has a 7-day less period for the follow-up. So
Yes.
I get mine before some people like that got their first round last week and stuff. So shout out me on that one.
But I love that, Maddie. Very cool story there. But sorry, I didn't want to just not acknowledge that before going into the next subject. Kind of felt
No,
like
you're
that'd be
good.
rude of me.
Not a problem.
Let's move into the Bulls trade deadline moves. Boomy, can you get into them a little bit? I know we talked about Vucevic at the beginning of the show.
Yep. The Cubs. Good God. The Bulls make two moves on the day. Let's get into the first one. They acquire all-star Nikola Vucevic and Al-Farouq Aminu. Real quick, guys, where did Al-Farouq Aminu go to college?
Wake Forest.
Thank you. Good job, Maddie. Extra points. Anybody know Vucevic?
Montenegro, isn't he?
Oh, he's from Montenegro, but he went to USC.
Did he really?
Yes, he did.
How long?
The Bulls pulled this off.
Do you know how many years he was there?
I think he was only there for a year or two, if I'm not. Maybe
I don't remember him being there. That's great. That's
he
bad.
also I don't think went to the tournament when he was there.
Okay.
But, anyway, they finally move on from the Wendell Carter experiment. I thought it was kind of at its end there. They give up Wendell Carter, Otto Porter Jr., a 2021 first-round pick, which is top 4 protected, and a 2023 first-round pick, top 4 protected.
Guys,
but
if anyone is actually have a problem with the Bulls giving up these draft picks, then you don't understand what they've been trying to do for the last few years is rebuild. We need the draft picks. No, we need players who are good now and are proven players. And why would you not trade, was it 2 first-rounders?
Yep.
Well, whatever. They gave up their first rounder for this year. It's just probably at this point going to be 15,
Yeah,
12, 15,
already been in the spot where we're
not getting a franchise player. You get Vucevic for that pick then. Fuck it. That's how you get your stud.
We always try to go for that pick, and then last year we lose out in the lottery.
You get a guy like that with your draft pick at 15 or 18, wherever they end up, and you'd be ecstatic. So I can't begrudge him for that at all.
And if things go right, and the rule is, a lot of people were saying, they kept their 2022 first-round pick, but there's a rule in the NBA that you cannot trade consecutive first-round picks in the same trade, I believe. But yeah, you pick up a guy who's averaging 24 points right now, who's increased his points per game for the last 5 seasons. Al-Farouq Aminu is going to be around for maybe the end of this year. I don't know how much longer his contract is, but he plays good defense, and he was just one of those pieces that had to be thrown in. It's kind of a
version of Otto Porter.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison.
A better fit for the Bulls anyway.
I think Otto Porter is kind of maxed out what he is. We all know who Otto Porter is, what he does, and what he can do, and he is who he is.
Paid a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly. And
they don't need a wing that can score like Porter,
Right.
And it's nice to get some veterans around Zach LaVine. I mean, it's nice having the rookies there and some of the younger guys, but come on, we need some veterans there. What the nice thing is I know Boomy's gonna get in the next trade, but what this is doing is maybe we can make the playoffs this year, and you have 2 all-stars, and then that's how you get free agents attracted to the Bulls.
I want to ask Boomy a question though, from a coach's perspective. When you have a player, and I know you're not coaching at the NBA level by any means, but when you have any kind of player on your team that you see more talent than they're putting out on a daily basis, and they're more talent than they're putting out in practice, which is what it seems like on a daily basis, like in Wendell Carter, where you see these things in college and certain skill sets that just didn't translate. And what do you do to get how do you deal with that? What do you do to try to tap into that? I mean,
especially at the NBA level, it's got to be difficult because a lot of that's going to come down to what they're doing in the off season and what they're doing outside of the practices you have, because Wendell Carter is so frustrating because, look, I mean, he's only been a Bull for 3 seasons. He's been hurt a lot.
Shown so much flash though. There's pieces at times that it's this guy could be good.
Right. it's one of those things where like he has to dedicate, to not only, I think the biggest thing with a Wendell Carter type player is getting him healthy and being able to sustain an 82 game season, because he really hasn't been able to do that his entire career. I mean, I say entire career, he's been in the NBA 3 years, but he's yet to play a full season.
If you've been injured that many times in a very short career, then what do you expect to happen more and more, especially for a big guy?
Man, it takes a beating down low.
Yeah,
absolutely. And you got to look at it from like, he's got to, like, you hate to say it like this, but he has to be like the most dedicated to it, because he's got to see the film. He's got to work on every little thing in the off season. And obviously it's been a weird, 12 months, but at the end of the day, like, I agree with you, Matt, because like, where do you get to a point where you start transitioning to a role player instead of being a full-time, in the middle of the rotation guy? Because right now you want him to be a middle of the rotation on the floor all the time, but he's just not.
If you're Orlando, you've got to play him 38 minutes a night at this point, don't you? See what you get out of him.
Got to get that experience.
See what's there. Like,
exactly.
Use this point to see what's there, and
And I think for what Orlando's doing, I think Wendell Carter is a promising piece to throw in that trade, because the kid's like 22 years old, and you give up a 30-year-old all-star, but they are literally starting from scratch. They trade Vucevic, they trade Evan Fournier, they trade Aaron Gordon. I mean, like, they're tearing down to
Terrence Ross and Cole Anthony are all that's left.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got to find out in the next, whatever they have, 29 games left, if you're the Magic, what you have in this piece that you acquired, and then you go from there into the offseason and turn him into the where you hope that he can be. But he's got to dedicate himself to, first, I think, getting healthy, and then you move on from there as far as skill set, because he does have skill. I mean, I think we can all agree we've seen him, like you said, Matt, flashes, but his inconsistency with being on the court has been extremely detrimental to the progress that he's made in the last 3 years.
Is that the most frustrating type of player to have on your team as a coach?
Yeah, when you can see the potential and it just doesn't, like, you have these visions in your head of what it can be and what you
expect it to be.
At the end of the road you are. Yeah, that's frustrating, man. That is very frustrating, and you almost feel like bad for the guy, especially when you're talking injury laden. The guy can't catch a break. He can't stay uninjured. It's like you see it, and you hope that he sees it, but then at the end of the day, there's these little nagging things that get in the way of it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
It's also another good reason why the Bulls got Vucevic, is because he's a proven good player.
Vucevic is the finished product of what Wendell Carter can be.
Yeah, and that's what these two draft picks are going to be, is just hopefully get a good player. It's like, now we actually got a player that is good.
Yes. Yep. And I think a lot of this, I mean, and I'll get into the next trade, but I think a lot of this is, our Arturas Karnisovas really putting his stamp down and saying, listen, this is what I'm here to do. And he took that young core, very young core, and kind of, threw it out the window. Not necessarily threw it out the window, but definitely stirred the pot a little bit.
And that's what we haven't had a front office that actually wants to win. It's always, we want to rebuild. We have to take a few years and rebuild.
It's a lot of feet dragging.
We can win now. Not saying they're going to win a championship by any means, but they can
win a first round series
for the playoffs.
Absolutely. Now. And then you get into the playoffs with a team that you think is above average. Then you let free agency happen. You have a new front office. You're the third most populated city in the country, and no one before this could get a free agent to come to Chicago. That's embarrassing. You have to take that as a front office. It's like, this is our mission now. We have to be able to get big name free agent, at least one big name.
As a free agent, you have to see, now they're making moves. They actually want to win. So that's also because every trade deadline, it's like, when it was Gar-Pax, it was like, you got nothing. And now it's like, they're looking to make a move.
That's just it. If you're a high-end basketball player, professional player that's trying to get a ring, and that's your end game at this point in your career, what more do you want to see? You don't want to see good weather. That doesn't matter. You don't care about all the other shit. You don't care what the city's like, because you have the money to leave that city whenever you want to leave it. So where you live per se during the season doesn't really matter. If you want a ring, you want a team that's committed to win a ring, and that's what's going to bring people. Chicago's a great city. It's got enough of a draw. No one's going to be playing in Jordan's shadow at this point they want to see commitment to win, and I think we might have it.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, the other move the Bulls pulled off, they were not able to acquire Alonzo Ball, who was the big name floating around. I believe I've heard, via the internet, different places, that this is kind of building a foundation for possibly a sign-in trade with Lonzo and the Pelicans this summer. So we'll see. But the other trade that went down, the Bulls end up that left the roster was Daniel Gafford and Chandler Hutchinson are heading to the Wizards, and Luke Cornett is heading to the Celtics. Thank God. The Bulls end up acquiring Troy Brown, Daniel Theis, Javonte Green, and Cash. I like Daniel Theis. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing his name right. Theis. He is just a big, big physical man. And you shed, like I said, Karnisovas kind of clearing out some of that old stuff. Daniel Gafford, Chandler Hutchinson, Luke Cornett. I mean, you're really, getting rid of. I saw a great tweet that was like they're basically getting rid of all the softness from the past, and that's definitely what this second deal feels like.
Hot seat marketing.
I think they were.
I think he might be in the sign and trade for Lonzo Ball.
And I had heard that they had tried that straight up, and they just the Pelicans weren't going to take it.
What's his contract?
Lowry,
he's a restricted free agent at the end of this year, just like Ball is.
Okay,
that's why they're kind of like the perfect fit for like a sign and trade or even just a regular trade if you could build the rest of the pieces around it. But I don't want to mortgage a bunch on Lonzo Ball. I think he's an interesting player. I think he'd probably be a great point guard fit for Levine just because he doesn't need to score, 30 to carry it. Let's not kid ourselves, though. The point guard position in the NBA at this point is Damian Lillard. It's, Steph Curry. It's Trae Young. It's Luka. You need a guy that can run things. And I just want to make sure we got a guy that can run things. You know what I mean?
And I had heard that the asking price was Laurie and Kobe White, and I think the Bulls, that's where they drew the line. I agree.
One or the other.
For an average or maybe, at times above average point guard.
If it's Melo Ball, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm going to say I was wrong on Melo Ball regardless of the injury. I was definitely wrong on that kid.
Yeah, I mean the kid starts, gets into the starting lineup, and
he was going to be the rookie of the year.
He was definitely going to be rookie of the year.
He's very good.
I don't. Can you do that still? You think?
It depends. If they voted it, but I don't think you'd see the NBA writers.
Well, if you look at, I know we're getting off track here, but the other rookies, Anthony Edwards has been average at best. Patrick Williams is not, rookie of the year, in my opinion. He's playing his part very well, but I still think even injured, with what we've looked at so far and, in this season, that LaMelo Ball has clearly been the best rookie. And I, like you, Matt, I will raise my hand. Very wrong.
Shout out. I want to real quick. Patrick Williams, I think, was a fantastic pick. I think that dude.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. We haven't even talked about the fit with Vucevic, Levine, and him. Because if he's going to end up being your third piece, which I'm not ruling out. I'm not ruling out that he can be a cornerstone to a team. So I think the ceiling is to that point for him. I think he could be an all-star caliber NBA player if he goes the right way.
The Bulls play again Saturday, 7:30 in San Antonio. Do they have these players?
That's a good question.
I don't know how that works.
Yeah,
I think if just has to clear physical.
If they can get there and probably pass a COVID test at this point, I'm sure that's all it requires.
That'll be an exciting game to watch on a Saturday. Anything else, Boomy?
Man, I just have to say that the NBA trade deadline is without a doubt the funnest trade deadline that there is.
And it's not always this exciting, though. No. This year, it was awesome.
Well, yeah, remember, what was it? Probably at this point, it was probably, 10, 11 years ago when they traded Nocioni and they got John Solomons was at the trade deadline acquisition and stuff. It's just you go from that point and It's a lot more fun when you get an all-star caliber player for a good package.
Yes.
Very true. Well, let's move on. The Blackhawks beat the Florida Panthers tonight 3-0. Patrick Kane got a goal.
Yep.
Matty Pucks, who else had goals?
DeBrincat got one. Or I think it actually might have been
He had an
Suter who got the
assist.
one. Yeah, I think Suter got the credit for the goal. It's kind of an odd play. Looked like DeBrincat.
I think that's 2 in a row.
2 wins in a row, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. They had a kind of a weird game against Florida the other night. Ended up getting the win. They had jumped out to a big lead in that one and kind of had to scramble to get a late win. But no, you get wins against teams like this. It's always good. So take them when you get them.
Yeah,
Lankinen was outstanding.
Stay in that playoff hunt the whole season. We'll have to kind of see how that goes.
Can't go on a losing streak though.
No,
40 saves by the way. 40 saves and a shutout for Lankinen.
Jeez,
that's awesome. That's a goal.
He had been struggling. He'd been struggling lately, so it's good to see that kind of game.
Awesome. But a little sad news here for Chicago White Sox fans. Eloy Jimenez out for 5 to 6 months, not officially out for the season. But he
maybe back for the playoffs.
A torn left pec on a play that just wasn't very good in the outfield.
It's an irrelevant play in an irrelevant game, and it
for a guy who should be a DH.
Yep, absolutely.
That's what stinks.
The ball was over the fence by 6 feet. He wasn't going to rob it anyway, and it's a spring training game. That's frustrating.
I guess that's tough to look back on, though. I understand what you mean.
I mean, you don't want to just
in the moment. You want to make the play. He's out there trying, but it's a spot where if it's going to get him hurt like this, there's no reason to have him out there. I know it's tough with the roster, and you can't just automatically give him the DH spot because maybe they have other thoughts on that. But you can't have this keep happening to him in his very young career.
Yeah. I mean, was it last year?
He was hurt last year,
yeah.
I thought he did something out on the outfield last year.
Yeah, he was chasing a foul ball. He didn't look down. He ran into the railing and wrecked his knee.
The problem that with him being hurt isn't a big deal, but when he comes back, they're not going to have a spot for him to be a DH because Vaughn's going to be up as the DH because Abreu's playing first. And it's not like Abreu can play anywhere else and Vaughn can play anywhere else.
That's what I'm saying. They're in a bad spot there. Did
I hear that they're going to put Vaughn in left field?
Ooh, I hope so. As a Cub fan,
you got to have him in the line. I mean, Vaughn's you need his
bat. From what it sounds like, I haven't seen him play, so I'm just going to go off of what everybody else says. He's going to be an elite hitter, so I'll assume he's an elite hitter. I think.
What do we got? We got about 6-7 days until opening day.
Karma's coming for him. All the shit they used to talk about Schwarber playing left, who turned into a serviceable outfielder. Just saying.
You're not wrong.
But we will have Jack Peterson out in left field this year, so that's exciting.
Very.
I'm off my deep hatred. I'm past my deep hatred for Jack Peterson. So I'm growing as a person, I think, guys.
Glad you're coming around. I love Jack Peterson.
All you can do, Maddie, is grow. You know? You just gotta be growth is all that is. I love it. Love that. Our outfield is going to be awesome this year. Ian Happ, Jason Hayward. Cannot wait for that. But we got a Sweet 16 March Madness preview. Boomy, you got the games for us. We're going to break them all down and who we got winning.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go through the games. You guys tell me your winners so we can get to an Elite Eight. We'll see the Elite Eight Monday, Tuesday. So we'll then go through who we got in the Final Four. So let's start off in the East. Playing on Sunday at 4, we got Michigan and Florida State. Michigan -2. I love Florida State here. Florida State money line. We've talked about it at length. The athleticism, the length of Florida State. Give me Florida State all day.
I love Florida State here.
It's unanimous.
All right, which means money on Michigan -2.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Official TCF pick is Michigan.
Michigan had some, their first few games or whatever, but I think that this is going to be a tough one. Florida State.
Hashtag fade the show.
Yeah, seriously. In that same bracket, we have Alabama versus the Red Hot UCLA Bruins. Alabama -6.5. My gut tells me Alabama, but man, is UCLA hot. They're 3 games into this tournament, and they have played very well. They've shot very well. I like Alabama to win, but I think UCLA is going to keep it close.
I'm going with UCLA. Honestly, I think they played so well since they barely made the tournament. They had to go on a 5-0 run just to get into overtime with Michigan State, and then they won in overtime, and they played so well in the tournament. I'm going UCLA.
Juzang and Hawkes are playing as good of a tandem as there is in college buckets right now, outside of the Gonzaga, 7 players, whatever you would call that. Yeah, but outside of Gonzaga, those 2 guys have been probably the most impressive duo of any team. Any team has shown. I'm definitely betting UCLA with the points. If I had to gone to head, I'd probably say Alabama to win.
Alabama in a close one is what I'm feeling too.
Yeah, that game's going to be, and it's a great time slot too. Sunday night at 6:15, perfect.
Prime time. In the West, we have Gonzaga versus the 5th seed in that division, Creighton. Gonzaga -13. I think Gonzaga is a wagon. I mean, they just tore through.
Bet Gonzaga first half. Bet Gonzaga full game. I think they are going to win by 20 or 30.
And God forbid Gonzaga doesn't win the first half. Throw your entire everything.
They are so good right now. It's insane.
They can go on runs that are just silly. They can go on a 22-0 run and it nothing.
They've had no troubles the first 2 games, which they haven't played the best teams, but they still, no trouble.
And they still end up blowing people out. They won their first round game by
50. They look so good too.
Yeah,
some teams they win, but they just look like they're all in sync, and it's just
they look like they haven't even turned it on fully yet.
I'd have to say that they are. I know they're the 1 seed overall, but they're the best team in the tournament right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Mark Hughes probably the best coach in the country too.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
He's probably the best coach in the country.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more there, Maddie. I love Mark Few. Also in the West, we have a Pac-12 showdown. We got the 6 seed USC and the 7 seed Oregon. USC -2, the Mobleys. Oregon's played well, but they've only played 1 game. I like USC. They blowed Kansas's doors off. Give me USC -2. I think they're going to hold on. They haven't played. They did play Oregon earlier in the year. They only played them once. They beat them by 13. Obviously, 2 different teams right now. But I like USC. I think USC is even going to have a chance against Gonzaga. We'll talk about that in a minute. Who do you guys like in that Pac-12 showdown?
We have a Sweet 16. What would you call that, Boomy?
Like a Sweet 16 bracket, essentially.
I have USC, so I need them to win. But I also think they are going to win because, like you said, Oregon, they've only had to play the 1 game against Iowa. And, it was – I don't know. I really think USC is on a roll right now. But isn't it crazy how many Pac-12 teams are still in it? They said that they're going to be doing something with Bill Walton on Saturday. So that'll be interesting.
I'm sorry.
Maddie, who you got? Wasn't his Final 4 all Pac-12?
Yes. It was actually 5 Pac-12 teams.
Well, yeah, I think it was the 2 teams were in the same side.
Yeah.
I love USC.
All right.
Absolutely love it.
We're all on USC.
That's not good.
That's getting a little worrisome, boys.
Yeah.
Here's my reason.
I don't agreeing with us. So we should never agree with each other.
It also, when you get down to games like this, you talk about coaching, and I think Andy Enfield took Florida Gulf Coast, deep in the tournament. And I'm not saying Dana Altman hasn't done things at Oregon. He has. But, I'm just an Andy Enfield fan. And I think that when you come down to games, I think it's going to be a close game. I think they're going to cover the 2. But I like USC. I think they got the 2nd best player in college basketball, maybe the 3rd best player in college basketball, kid who you're going to see in the top 5 of the NBA draft. And I just think their role, look what they did to Kansas, and I think Kansas is still a better team than Oregon. I could be wrong, but I love the Trojans here. Let's move to the South. The number 1 seed Baylor taking on a very resilient Villanova team, -7.5. I've got Baylor in that Sweet 16 pool, so I've got to take Baylor. I'm not crazy about the spread because Villanova is playing like veterans who have been there and done that, but I do think Baylor prevails.
I do too, but I think Jay Wright can keep them in the game. I know they always say coaching is so much, but I think really he's gotten them here.
Yeah, I mean,
no one thought that they'd be
4 tournaments.
No one thought that they would win their first 2 games. No one was talking about Villanova.
They were like the biggest upset that everyone was taking.
And now they're playing Baylor, and we'll have to see. Like I said, at some point, if it stays close, coaching will come into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Maddie, who you got?
Second best coach. If I said Mark Few is the best coach, I'm going to go with Jay Wright. There is the second best coach. However, I do think Baylor does get the cover. I think.
I'm not saying they're going to win.
They're starting to ramp.
Hopefully,
it
stays
up a
close.
lot. Really starting to ramp it up a lot. Baylor, does it feel like?
Yeah, it's
plus Gillespie's out too. That's such a big loss for Villanova.
Like Gonzaga and them both feel like they're really starting to feel their groove and his own.
Yeah, hit their stride
round. Yeah,
Gillespie being hurt really is a big loss.
Yeah, if Gillespie's in there, you're talking a different game here. But also in the South, in the Big 12, Arkansas is taking on the Cinderella Oral Roberts. Guys, this is where it ends. Oral Roberts doesn't make it out of this game. I think Arkansas I love Arkansas in this one. Oral Roberts had their moment in the sun. Arkansas is
I don't know, Jim. I don't know.
I don't think they're going to cover 11.5, but Oral Roberts isn't getting out of the Sweet 16.
Are we talking winners or are we talking covers here?
Both.
Because, yes, I agree there. Because I think Oral Bob keeps it very, very close. I think they've got just as good of a shot.
I like
to win.
the spread there a lot, but money line, I might be betting the money
maybe
line.
A little Salt Bay.
Just a little sprinkle.
I don't know, Jim.
I think that they are. I mean, they've obviously not cared about what they've done so far. They knock off Ohio State. They knock off Florida. I mean, that's 2 good wins.
They were down big too. I mean, it's not like they don't get rattled.
No, not at all. I think that 11.5 is a lot of points, but I think Arkansas closes it out. Moving to the Midwest, we have the hometown Loyola Chicago Ramblers and the 12 seed Oregon State Beavers. Loyola -7. Does Loyola push to another Elite 8? I think so. I also kind of like Oral Roberts, think this is the end of the road for Oregon State. Loyola just plays so well defensively, and I just don't foresee Oregon State. Don't get me wrong. They've been one of the hottest teams in the country in the last 3 weeks, but they haven't played a defense like this. So I think this is where it ends. I also I like Oregon State to cover 7. I think this is going to be a little bit closer, but
I think Loyola wins by a lot. I think this Loyola team is very good, and like I said, the seeding, whatever, it all works itself out. But I think that this team they're on a roll right now, and I think that they got past the 1 seed in Illinois, and Oregon State. Yes, they're on a roll here, kind of a Cinderella story. But Loyola, they're just too good.
Boys, I hate to be the bearer. I think the Oregon State buzzsaw is going to continue. It just seems like the perfect setup for a Chicago hopes and dreams to be shattered. Doesn't it feel like that to an Oregon State?
Maddie's read this story before.
No, I'm not kidding you. I'm not trying to be a dick. Like they beat Illinois. It's Loyola's. If going to the Final Four was the peak, beating this Illinois team in the tournament that was supposed to win a national championship has got to be 1A for them. And when you follow up on that and you're playing a team that is, I'm going to rattle off. Listen to who they've played. February 20th, they lost to Colorado by 4. Since then, they beat Cal by 2, bad team. But they beat Stanford by 11. Then they went on, they beat Utah by 5. They lost to Oregon in a double-digit game. But then they beat UCLA. They beat Oregon. They beat Colorado, another playoff team. Then they beat Tennessee. Then they beat Oklahoma State. some of the hottest teams in the country right there.
Yeah.
And that's not just Oregon State being one of the hottest teams. They beat Oregon. They beat UCLA. Teams that we've just been talking about how well they've been playing, and they beat them. And they also beat.
Well, wouldn't you
Cade
say
Cunningham
that
and Oklahoma
Illinois
State, too.
is pretty much playing better than anyone because they came off of the
Totally
they won
agree.
the Big Ten and they're on a roll and everything.
I think they caught Illinois how they needed to, and Io had the worst game of his season. And it was like it was a perfect storm for Loyola to win. And I'm not trying to take anything away from them. They very well could go to the Final Four this year again. I think if they beat Oregon State, they're going to beat Syracuse or Houston, in my opinion. I don't think that's going to be a problem at all. So.
Speaking of that, the last game in that division and the last game of the Sweet 16, Houston and Syracuse. Houston minus 6.5. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I like Houston, and I think it's because a lot of people are saying it's Syracuse. Syracuse is hot right now. I think I like Houston to win the game. I don't know if I like them to cover 6.5 though. I think Syracuse can shoot it well enough to keep themselves into it, but Houston just has so much athleticism and length. I like them here.
I like Syracuse here. I mean, they've been on a roll. I like Houston, but I don't know.
I keep going back and forth on this game. If at this particular moment, I would probably say Syracuse to win. I think Houston's fucking damn good, though.
We've talked about coaching a lot, too. You got to bring that into play here. Yeah. Jim Boeheim.
Boeheim in the tournament, especially in the Sweet 16s, he's been very good lately.
Against a guy, it's Samson, right? At Houston.
Yeah.
Samson. Against a guy who's historically shot himself in the foot a few times in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and outside of the NCAA tournament and recruiting violations, things like that too.
The guy loves recruiting violations.
Yeah, he's obsessed with them. But Quentin Grimes is a really good player, though, man. And Houston's dangerous. It's a team that they play defense, and whenever you play defense and play that kind of grimy game, it's tough. Syracuse does that really well, though, too. And Boeheim is probably shooting as well as anybody in the country right now.
Very excited for all this. Boeheim, as in his son, Buddy Boeheim.
Buddy
Jackson.
Yeah. Wait, what?
His real name's Jackson.
I like Buddy better.
That's better, though. I was hoping his real name just wasn't Buddy.
Yeah. That would be a total Jim Boeheim movie.
Oh, yeah. Jim Boeheim would be like, I don't want to learn a name, so I'm just going to call you.
Yeah. Hey, Buddy.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. All right, so real quick, let's go through who we think is going to be in the Final Four out of the East. Give me Alabama. I'm sorry. Give me Florida State. Florida State's on a roll. The athleticism, the length. I like Florida State over Alabama in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I don't really have the bracket in front of me.
So it's Michigan, Florida State, Bama, UCLA.
UCLA.
You go, I like it. Maddie,
ballsy. I have a lot of Florida State futures, so I'm going to ride my Florida State futures and hope for the best.
I'm kind of with you on that one.
I like Florida State, but I don't know.
Here's the big one.
UCLA's playing really well.
Yes,
really
they are. If they can stay hot. And
that Juzang's so good, too.
Yeah, he's so fun to watch right now, despite the fact when you bet against him and then you want to hit your head against the wall, but that's another story. Gonzaga, Creighton, USC, or Oregon? Is everybody on Gonzaga here?
Yep.
USC.
Oh, that's because he has USC in the Sweet 16 pot.
Also, they're playing well, but also that. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I'm not gonna go. I don't want to go chalk here.
I got a message from Nick, by the way, with, "Hey, you got Oregon State." So hey, you got the worst seeded team in the.
Now I see all your Oregon State.
Now it comes out. Now I get it. I get this now.
No. I just gave you facts. I didn't give you any opinion. I didn't say this guy's better than that guy. I read a lot.
But it makes sense of how you know these facts is because you've been doing some research.
Might have to convince myself. Who knows?
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want us to deter you. In the South, Baylor, Villanova, Arkansas, Oral Roberts. I've got Baylor in the Sweet 16 pool. If I didn't, I might take Arkansas, but I still think, like we talked about, Baylor is hitting the stride at the right time. Their athleticism through the roof, and they can get up and down real fast. I like Baylor here.
I'm going Baylor.
Maddie?
Yeah.
All righty. And then in the Midwest, Loyola, Chicago, Oregon State, Houston, or Syracuse?
Syracuse.
I don't hate it. Don't hate it. That I took that at plus 500 for them to make the Final Four. Brandon Walker convinced me on that one.
I'll go Houston.
But I think I'm going to go Houston for a pick. I think Syracuse is the sneakiest team in that region at this point.
Love it. I like I said, I like we talk athleticism, Baylor, their ability to get up and down. Houston, the same thing. I think this is finally the year. We've talked about it for like 5 or 6 years. Like Houston's good. They're poised to make a run all these years, and now I think this is finally the year they do it. They had that embarrassing loss to Eastern Carolina back in January, and I think things since then have gone pretty well. I like Houston here.
Yeah, that Houston-Syracuse game is going to be a slugfest.
Yes, without a doubt.
It will be an exciting weekend. Like you said, we have Saturday, Sunday is the Sweet 16, and then Monday, Tuesday is the Elite 8. So we'll be doing a show maybe Monday night. We'll have to see how it goes. But that was our Sweet 16 preview with a little bit of a Final Four predictions. Boom.
Hey, I also did you guys know back in the day they used to do a third place game for the teams that lost in the Final Four?
Oh my gosh.
Anytime we can get more basketball, I don't need your eye roll, Zachary, all right? Anytime we can get more basketball at the end of the season when we're down to like 3 games, give me more basketball.
I guess you're right, but
There'd be some major.
Who would want to play in that third place
It would
game?
literally be 3-point line to 3-point line.
Oh.
No one.
Take the over. Take the over.
At 287.
If you add some incentive, like
private jet home.
Yeah, something.
Boom, if you got a wacky.
Oh, the incentive would just give them an extra gift bag and tell them to stick it.
Boomy Wacky Web Story.
I sure do. And Zach, you might want to close your ears for this one. Being a new homeowner that you are.
I don't think that's possible.
Well, you might want to unplug the headphone. Obviously, Zach, being a new homeowner, sometimes your dryer just fills up with lint way too fast, right? And you're like, what's going on? A couple in Groveland, Florida, realized that their dryer was filling up and blowing out lint like crazy. They couldn't figure out why. Weren't making any extra like bigger loads of laundry. So they called a repairman, only to discover that there was a giant dead snake jammed in the motor. And that was causing
my gosh.
malfunction.
You sell the house, you sell everything, you
burn
get
it down.
You didn't even sell it, burn the house.
Yeah, burn it down, take the insurance money.
That always happens in like Florida, so I'm not too worried about it.
Hey,
if you're willing to live in
that
Florida, you signed up for that shit anyway.
My in-laws that live 30 miles west of here, when they have a really bad snake problem in the town they live in, and they were redoing the siding on their house and pulled the siding, and there was about 10 dead snakes living between the siding and one day my mother-in-law reached out and she thought there was a broken belt on the washing machine, grabbed what she thought was the broken belt, and it was a dead snake.
All right, we're done here. Anything post show? No, we're just gonna end the show here.
Again, though.
I'm done talking to you, Boomy. Oh my gosh. This has been
Zach's never gonna repair it. If his wash machine breaks, he's just gonna buy another one. He's not reaching in there. He's not like this is probably a snake. I'm probably just gonna get rid of this.
Don't you guys remember me versus the birds over the summer when they jammed up my fucking dryer vent?
I'd rather have birds than snakes.
Well, yeah, 1,000 times over. But.
Yeah, I say I'd rather have 1,000 birds than one snake.
We might suspend the Wacky Web Story for a few weeks here because you've just been on a roll.
I got a post-show item. What do I got to do with my neighbors? I found out why my bird problem is so strong. Is my neighbors feed them a bucket of bird food every day on their back porch. Every day. She's out there dumping a bucket of bird food into this little bird feeder. It's all over the ground. These things come down like the Home Alone 2 lady. What do I do?
My parents
you gotta release some snakes in the yard,
though. My parents do that, but they live in the country.
Yeah, they live in the country. That's a different story.
If she goes birds, you got to one up her. You got to go snakes.
No.
Oh, dude, I don't want to be around snakes.
No.
You don't. You pay some.
They turn on their
Boomy,
owners, man.
Mute yourself right now, please. Thank you for watching the TCF morning show with stupid Boomy at Boomy TCF and Matt Schoolfield at schools_01. I am Zach Lilia at Z Lilia. TCF, the main page is at typical_Chicago, Instagram, Facebook. Type in Typical Chicago Fans. You will find us on there. Go over to YouTube. Type in Typical Chicago Fans. Subscribe to the YouTube page. And then, podcast. Wherever you get your podcast from, type in Typical Chicago Fans. You will find us on there. Shout out to 26shirts.com. Chicago. Boomy's got the Taze shirt under his Bulls jersey. Go to 26shirts.com. Chicago. Use the promo code Typical Chicago Fans for 15% off of your purchase. Again, that is Typical Chicago Fans at checkout for 15% off of your purchase at 26shirts.com. Chicago. Anything else, boys?
Let's have a beautiful weekend. Sweet 16.
Shut up,
Elite
Boomy.
8. No
Maddie,
snakes.
anything?
Yeah, let's have a Friday. Isn't that what we always says?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's have a weekend.
No more talk. No more snake talk, please. Ugh. This has been the TCF Morning Show, Friday, March 26th. We love you all.
Peace.
Go to hell, snakes.